Good morning, beautiful people. I thought I haven't done a kind of a real-time video in a while, and I have just been itching to play more with my new stamps here from Viva Las Vegas, so you can see the ones that I've already played with. But I want to play with some more of these, and I thought it would be fun. I don't know if this is going to work, but I thought I would try it here on camera to use some of these beautiful baby wipe pieces that I've used, like when I've cleaned off my craft mat. Some of these are just too gorgeous to throw away, right? So I thought it would be interesting to create a little book out of these and my stamps, and I'm going to try some of the Seth Apter Emerald Creek embossing powder, so Rocky Road and Dirty Sand. I haven't tried either one of these yet, so I'm going to see if that works on here. I know it's not going to be a super clean image because of the surface on here, but I'm okay with that. So let's see if this works. Let's give it a try. So let me pick out, we'll just start with this one. So I think for my pages, I'm going to, let's make them, kind of like the width of these, but maybe we just cut this in half. How about that? And you know, I'm so exact here. We'll eyeball it, and then we'll just cut the other ones to size as well. So this will be my page. So let's go ahead and stamp on the front side of this. So let's see, which side do I like better? How about this side here? So we'll make this the front. So let's see, which one of these, how about this eye? The eye looks fabulous, right? And I apologize if Moose is barking in the background. The front door is open. So let's take this off. All right, sorry about that. So, just going to use Versamark. My ink pad is pretty gritted up, but that's okay. You can see it's well loved. So let's go ahead and get this all inked up. And we'll get it down. And I'm thinking I may also, depending on how this looks, I'm going to either paint over it with fabric paint or do some stitching. I haven't quite decided. So let's try Dirty Sand. So let me just put this on here. Get a paintbrush, get these loose pieces off. I'm okay if there's some. I go for that messy look anyway, but I just want to get the big chunks off. But that stamped beautifully, right? That looks pretty cool, huh? So let's dump this out so I don't spill. I've done that before. Cover it up. And let's go ahead and heat this. So I don't think this is going to work. I might have to do plan B. I kind of do like just the embossing powder on that. That turned out really cool. All right, let's start with a different page. Let's just use this other one, right? How about no embossing powder? And just stamping on it. So, like that side. So how about if we just stamp? Let's try this. So I'm just using regular black archival ink. Don't know how well this will stamp on a baby wipe. We'll try. Oh, worked. Cool. You can see how that looks. So let me just give it a quick dry. I did learn with this other piece, when you heat the baby wipe, it starts melting, but I kind of like that. So let's try something here. How about if we take, let's just put some archival ink right on the baby wipe. Let's mix this up a little bit. Let's put a little bit of big sand. And a little bit of this rocky road. Let's see what happens. Okay, I am back. I cleaned up my mess. I definitely have to make sure that I emboss off camera so I can put that right in the trash can. But how cool is this? I don't know if you can see, because when you go through or put the embossing powder on the baby wipe, it burns it actually and starts making it crunch up like this, and it creates this amazing texture, and I'm really loving this. So let's switch gears a little bit, and to be honest with you, sometimes the back looks cooler than the front, and I know the embossing powder really isn't showing in the back, but how cool does that look? So let's try something. I've got an old vintage napkin here, and let's go ahead and stamp on this napkin. So I'm going to get my archival ink again. Let's ink this stamp up really good. Let's go ahead and just stamp it down here in this corner. Okay, let's go ahead and heat it really quick just to get it set. All right, so let's go ahead and rip this out. And you know what, I like that ripped edge from all sides, so, and we'll keep that. That piece like is just makes me happy. Yes, I keep all little scraps like that. So let's go ahead and cut this side off. Again, keep that. So how nice is that? That looks really cool, right? So how about, and again, we could do it to either side. So you know what I might do is get my other color of embossing powder. I think that's too dark, unless I do it on this side, and I really, really like it on this side, and stitch down to help create some pages. So let's go ahead, we go ahead and use this piece. Even though we stamped on it, won't matter. Let's go ahead and get right, so I can tell you right now, these two are probably going to end up being my favorites. Ancient Amber and Vintage Beeswax. So let's go ahead and apply some Versamark right on top of here. And then let's go ahead and put some of these on here. Oh, making a mess again. And you can still see the color from the baby wipe underneath. Put the extra back in here. And again, I'm making a mess again, so let's get this off the workspace. All right, I'm going to go ahead and give this a heat off camera so I'm not making a mess. I'll be right back. All right, people, this is seriously so amazing. All right, so here is my piece, and love how this really popped out the color of the baby wipe underneath. And then again, you can see through. Let me see if I can find something that we can see through this color. Maybe if I can put the black. So you can see there's holes in there, right? I don't know if the camera picks that up. So we can make a page out of that, right? Take our piece that we stamped, and now that, I like those colors much better than the others. So let's go ahead and do this. So I'm going to make several pages. And we'll go from there. So let's get another one of these baby wipes. Let's get some with really pretty color. How about this one? All right, so we cut it in half. Which way did we cut it in half? This way? Yes, we did. Yeah, I cut it in half this way, I think. So we'll get 2 pages out of this. So let's go ahead and get some Versamark on here. I might have to ink up my stamp pad. This really sucks it out. And some of the vintage beeswax. And some of the Ancient Amber. I think what I'll do is I'll create a little book with maybe 5 pages. I always like the number 5. I always have to do an odds. 3 just doesn't seem enough to play with this, but 5 definitely does. So let's make sure we've got that. Alright, so let me go ahead and heat this up. So I'm going to go ahead and do all 5 pages and I will be back. Okay, I am back and I have all of my pieces embossed. The one that I originally done with the darker colors, I went ahead and embossed those same colors on the other side, and that looks better to me, but I don't know if I'll use that one. This one is gorgeous to me. I really love the amazing colors in this one. And then these ones were a little bit smaller. I don't know if they were a different baby wipe, but they really shrunk up when I heated them. But that's okay, so I'll make my pages like this size. And there's the other piece. And then this one. So I have plenty of pages for my book. And I love that they're all different sizes. So obviously when I fold them, that to me is lovely. I usually don't make pages that are the same size. So we have all of these ready. Then I went ahead and stamped some of the different images on that antique napkin. So I have those ready to go. And then I also stamped some of the words that are in my set. Some of these are some of my favorite sayings. I totally think this is how I create every day. So what I'm going to do, though, I think these need a pop of color. So obviously if I create my page, and this is going on my page, it needs something else. And besides, I need to like make this smaller. So I may actually, on this one, rip off the bottom half and cut it off here and then put it on the page, because I do want some of this to peek out. But what I'm going to do is color these with fabric paint. So I pulled out some of my favorite Pebeo light fabric paints. I don't know what colors I'm going to use, so I just pulled out all of the ones that I had. I do want some colors that kind of coordinate with this, so I kind of am liking this fuchsia. I do like the yellow. I kind of like this moss green as well. And then of course this turquoise is great. But I have just black and white as well. Purple, red. So actually, you know what? I think I may go the red route for this one. So let's see here. So let's go ahead and start this one. I still have bits of embossing powder everywhere on my workspace. Let me just get a sheet of deli paper. I don't know about you, but pieces of embossing powder drive me crazy. I can't create with feeling those. I guess it's like crumbs in a bed. I can't sleep when I feel that the smallest of crumb in my bed. And this is kind of the same thing. All right, that's gonna have to just deal with it. So I think what I'll do is shake this up. I haven't had these open for a while, so let's go ahead and just color the inside of, let me zoom in a little bit. I'm just going to color the hearts, obviously. I will come back. I'm actually going to paint the hands too, I think, but let's do all the red paint first. So let's go ahead and paint this heart. And you heat set this fabric paint by, or you set it permanent by heating it. So I'm just going to zap it quick with my heat gun. If I am working on bigger pieces, I use my iron for those. Alright, so every piece needs a pop of red. I'm kind of like thinking, whoops, I'm totally off camera here. I think the whole shape on the outside needs to be red on this one. What do you think about that? Let's go for the big impact here. So this is one, creating with stamps and stencils are seriously some of my favorite things. I use them a lot on my art journal pages. but I can't draw at all. So I use stamps and stencils as a way to kind of jump start. You can see I'm totally not staying in the lines here. To jump start, I need to be a little more careful. My project. So they're great for that because there's always that, back to my organized chaos, there's that organized madness, I guess, by using the stamp or the stencil. So a lot of times, I think most creative people, their backgrounds will be very random and messy. But for me, I have to bring some organization to that. I guess it's the right and the left side of my brain competing. So I always have to kind of create that with stamps and stencils. But like in this case, I could have obviously used the stamped image on the page. It would be kind of cool actually to leave the stamped image and then tea dye or coffee dye this to get that vintage look, and that would have been great. I could have done that and then maybe added some stitching, which I still may add some stitching because I love to stitch on my books. But I thought to do something different because I haven't actually played with my fabric paints in a while. It would be fun to paint on these. So there's that one. Set this aside. Alright, so we have this eye. Let me wipe this off so I'm not getting it on everything. Alright, so what needs to be red here? Maybe this bottom piece. And the other thing is too, with these Pebeo paints, the light fabric paint, they're somewhat transparent. So you can see the design here, right? You see this design that was part of that stamped image. When you paint over it, you're still going to see that image underneath. So it's not an opaque paint. Now I do have opaque, like here's an opaque white. So that would totally block that out, but I want that stamped design to show through. So I'm just enhancing that stamped design. To me, that's what stamps are for me in my creative work. I enhance them with other things. Alright, so we have that one done. Then we have this little bee. So how about if we just make his little body right here red? Alright, so I'm done with my red. Alright, so what color? Maybe let's do bright. How about this green? It's called light green. Let's do that one next. But I don't think I want those hands green on that one. So, maybe the eyes, a green eye on this one. Actually, no. Let's switch gears. We're going to use this turquoise instead. Change gears. Okay. My paper is clean. So you can see on my workspace here that because this fabric is very thin, it does go through and it's underneath. So you've seen me and it's just habit. I keep wanting to move it around, but I don't want to do that because then the paint would get all over the background. So you just have to be mindful of that. And to be honest with you, I know we were sitting here talking about tea dyeing or coffee dyeing. I just drank a bunch of coffee this morning, so I may actually grab it and just coffee dye these quickly, just because, you know, can never have enough of that vintage look in my opinion. I am definitely drawn to the old things and the history behind them, because our pages here kind of have that old vintage vibe, right? They've got that soft muted palette, but you know, we'll see how this goes once these dry. And I definitely like this teal on here, this turquoise, better than the green would have been too much. I gravitate towards these more muted colors, so that looks really nice. I really, really like that. And add some stitching to that and we'll call that good. Alright, so let me clean this up. I think she needs to be painted. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and finish these. I'll get them all painted up and I will be back. Alright, so I went ahead and painted all of these, and I actually did throw them into my coffee. I was right. I mean, it's a subtle difference. You can see it here between the original and the coffee stained. My eye goes more towards this, but I'm not going to stain these little bits that I put on here, or I didn't coffee stain the words, because I kind of like that little bit of contrast with the white. So I went ahead, dried them all. So off camera, I went ahead and tried to organize how I want each one of my pages. So I think I like how this is. So now I'm going to start stitching the pages together. I'll go ahead and do... Let's go ahead and do this one. Let me move these ones out of the way. Just to let you know, so on some of these pages they were really long, right? So I went ahead, and it's nice because I love these little fringes that you get. I very gently ripped off the edge. And for these pages here that were really skinny, when you folded them up, I went ahead, and what I'm going to do is stitch this on, but the pieces that I ripped off, I'm going to go ahead and add them to this one, so I'm actually making a fatter page, and I'll show you that one here. But so this is how I want this page to look. Yes, there's going to be two pieces here, so I'll show you later what I'm going to do with these, because I really want it to be one page in my book. I'm not going to put signatures on the inside, or I'm not going to put anything on the back. So place it on here however you want it. I found this thread actually at the vintage store. It's much finer than embroidery floss, but I want to go ahead and use it. You know, it's something different. Plus I like this thing that's underneath of it, so I might as well use the thread up so I can use this in another project. So I went ahead and doubled it up so I would have 2-ply. And I opted for contrasting. So I was going to originally maybe go with like a brownish color, more coordinating, but I decided, because these are such bright, for me having bright images, I really wanted a contrasting thread for the outside. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch with just a straight stitch on the outside of this. So I did not glue it down before, and that's one reason I love stitching, because it's form and function. So it's function because it's actually adhering this to my page, but it actually, it is also a design element. So it's two functions. So you can see I'm just going to roughly adhere this down to the front of my page with straight stitches. You could get a more decorative stitch. You could do, I mean, if you really wanted to, you could do a blanket stitch around the outside. You could do a stitch that goes like this. That would be kind of interesting. I opted for a more simple just because that the image of the stamp, it's pretty graphic. So I really didn't want something to compete with that image. You could also, I've been known for Xing, and I might add some elements onto the stamped image with that here in a little bit. But I at least want to get these attached down to each page. So you can see I'm totally being random about this. I'm not even caring that the stitches are in different lengths. They may be not exactly the same distance away from the edge, but you know what? I'm good with that. I kind of like this hand stitched look. And then with that black thread, it really pops that off that page, right? So that one's done. So you can see it goes pretty fast. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a knot on the back side of this page. Actually, before I do that, so I had this on here as well, right? So the decision is, so my page is going to go like this. Do I want to do that in black thread as well, or in a different colored thread? And I think I'm going to go with the different colored thread. So I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of knots back here. So you can see that's on. So this will go here eventually. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of the shapes in the black thread, and I will be back. Okay, I am back. So I have all of my pages stitched down. Now I'm going to add the stitching to the words and just other embellishments. Before I do that, like I told you, this page, this is how kind of ugly it looks in the back. But I just very, very loosely and randomly just attach those down. I didn't really care, even if the stitching is shown, like to me that's kind of cool. But most of it will be covered up with this. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch this down. I decided to use the brown color just as a contrasting or a different color than the black, but yet it's pretty neutral, so it's gonna blend in a little bit more. So I'm gonna do the same technique. Now another thing I could do on this, which I considered, was machine stitch the word, the sentiment down, just for a different look, because obviously the machine stitching looks different. But I opted against that because I don't really feel like hopping over to where my sewing machine is and getting it out, and I had everything here in front of me, so I'm just kind of being lazy right now. But so you can see I'm still doing it. Again, you could stitch these down in different ways. You could just add a stitch, and actually I may do that. I may go back. All right, so let me switch gears up here a little bit. As I'm talking, I'm not paying attention. Let's just take out what we did here. Let's start over. So you can see it's totally okay to start over. And as you're creating and these moments strike you, that's what you kind of go with, what your gut says. That's really what creating is about, what your intuition says. So I am only going to add a stitch here. And because it's so far from the other end, I'm going to go ahead and put a knot. And I got to do that over because that didn't, it went through. So I'm going to put a stitch here. Let me go ahead and knot this up. Fingers don't want to work this morning. And on the other end. And we'll put one down here. And so what that does, it just adds a little looseness to it, which I'm kind of okay with. I might put maybe some decorative piece here. So let's, so how about we, because I love X's, let's do that. Let's put 3 X's because I love things in 3s. And this also does on those pages, those 3 or those scraps that I stitched down, this is also stitching right through that, so it's adding just more stability to those pieces that I added to this. So there, that is perfect for what I'm looking for. So let me go ahead and just knot this up in the back. I think one of these times, I'm always obsessed by what the back looks like, and to me that kind of does look like cool, is create something and then actually flip it over and use the back side. Like, how fun would that be? And totally mix it up. So that page is finished. So I'm going to go ahead and do similar things to each one of the other ones and add those bits and pieces, and I will be back. Hello, I am back now. So I've got all of my pages stitched. I just added different stitching elements to each one. So now I've got to bind them in a book. So they'll go, let's see, I suppose I need to decide on the order here. Let's do this, then maybe this big one, then this one, and then this one. I think that's how I will construct my book, right? So it'll be this thick. I'm going to try this, again, for the sake of just creating and having fun. I'm going to make this the cover of my book. Kind of fun, right? So, let's see, what side do I want? I think I like this as the front. So what I'm going to try to do, I'm just going to bind this with a basic pamphlet stitch, but because this is paper, usually I do this with fabric, I'm going to have to create a spine. So what I'm going to do, this is, let me do it on this side so it won't be visible. So this is about 9 inches, give or take. So 4.5 is in the center here. I'm going to go 1/2 inch this way and 1/2 inch this way, and kind of the same here. So we're at 4 and 5. Well, I'm totally not equal here. My lines are totally not straight, but you know, we're gonna go with it. When I fold it, they will be. So I am going to fold it on this line, and I can make it straight by lining up the edges of the card. And with my bone folder, crease that line out. So I have one side, and then I'm going to do this side, so where my other line was. And you know what? If they're not exact, close enough. It just is going to create a spine for my book. So my cover is going to be like this. So it looks just like a book, right? So let me go ahead and erase my lines on the inside before I forget. All right. So for just this pamphlet stitch, it's not very wide, so I think I'm actually just going to do 2 holes. I'm just going to, actually no, I'll do 3. So we'll have 1 in the center. Let's see, how wide are these pages? And then maybe 1 here and 1 here. So that's almost a ½ inch from side to side. So I have 5 pages, 5 signatures. So I'm going to have 5 of these. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark them here, kind of equal space apart. So those will be what I stitch through. So I'm going to go ahead and take an awl and just go ahead and poke through my holes here. Alright, so because this is the binding of my book, I am going to stitch it with waxed linen thread so it is more, it's stronger and it's more stable. So I'm going to go ahead and do this in a contrasting color just because I had pops of red on these, so I think that will be really nice on the outside of my binding. So let me go ahead and cut a piece off, thread my needle. So I'm sure many of you know it, but with wax linen thread, a lot of times it's hard to get it through the eye of the needle. And I do have needles with fatter eyes, but if you just like pinch this between your fingers and take off the wax, your needle will go through. So when I do pamphlet books this way, a lot of times I'll work from the center out just to make sure that my pages are kind of equal spaced. So with that, this is my center page. So I'm going to go ahead and so it will be in these center holes. So I'm going to try to line up my page so the center's here. Now if I was doing this with paper and stuff, I would probably mark my papers and pre-punch the holes, but I'm not going to do that because I'm, again, for the sake of ease, I'm not going to. Then the next decision I need to make is whether I want the ends of my thread to be on the inside or the outside of the book. So I think for this one I'm going to go outside in because I want my threads to be on the outside part of the book. So I'm going to come up through this middle hole in the center and leave a tail, I don't know, 2-3 inches. And then in the center of my book, so I'm going to go ahead and just eyeball it right now. So it's about here, maybe over just slightly. Then I will want to come down, so try to be in line with how your book is. So my hole is up here, so up a little bit more. So I'm going to want to come back out this hole here. So on the inside you'll see this, on the outside you'll see this. Then I'm going to go back down in the middle hole, so it should come back out the hole that was already here, and I'm just going to make sure my book is lined up here as much as I can, so when it flips over it will look like this, right? Then I'm going to go down, so my other hole is about here, so it's going to come out the middle on the bottom. So then on the inside it looks like this. On the outside it looks like this. And then I'm going to go back through the middle, so it's going to come right back up through the middle. And then what you do is so you can see where the two threads are here. I'm going to just come over slightly and go back through. And then it comes back out this way. Then what I'm going to do is tie this off. And I'm going to leave these here because I might put something on the outside here. So my first page is in my book. So now we can go ahead and work on the next page. So let's go ahead and work towards the front. So here is the next one. So it's the same process. Now I'm going to go to the hole next to the center and go through. Let's leave a tail. And then you'll want to come up through the center of your page. And then back down. Through the bottom. So again, on the inside it's going to look like this. On the outside it's going to look like this. Go back through the middle. And then back down. This side. So the hole is up here. Back down the middle. Whoops, I need to. And then come over to the side, back down and out, and tie that off. So I'm going to go ahead and put all of my pages in here and I will be back. Okay, so I have everything in my book. I am going to put some things on the cover, but before I do that, I actually want to glue my pages together because I really want it just to be a page like this. I left it open so I'd be able to bind it. So what I'm going to do is just put a layer of matte medium in between these two, put it under some weights, let it dry for a little bit before I finish the book off. So I always just take some deli paper that I have folded up, and I always put it in between layers because I don't want them to glue to each other when I do my books like this. And let me wet my brush just a little bit and just put some matte medium, and this should glue them together. If it doesn't dry them together, what I might do is use some soft matte gel. I've done that too for really chunky books before, and that really works. But I thought I'd try the lesser route first, so you can see the matte mediums coming through, and that's why I put the deli paper in between my layers, because I wouldn't want that to stick to this. So I just put that down. Get some more here. And I am not really going to be too careful about getting it all the way through the edges. Just as long as the two pages stick together. And then another sheet of deli paper and the next one. So I'm going to finish going through this whole book and I will come back once this is dry. Thanks. Okay, I am back. I've let these dry for probably 4 to 6 hours, and they're still not completely dry, but they're dry enough where they're not necessarily going to stick to each other. When I'm done putting the cover on, I'm not gonna like close it up because they still are a little wet, but you can see the pages are adhered together. So as I was doing this, I like the outside cover, but the inside needs a little something. So I thought I would just use some watercolors just to color the inside a little bit. So let me go ahead and get some of these on here, and I'm just gonna put them on here randomly just for some interest. I just pulled whatever I had from my stash, and let's put a little glitter just because. Okay, so that side is done. And I really like how those two colors look together. Subtle, but it just adds a little something. Alright, so let's go ahead and do the back. Alright, I'm going to thin this out a little bit. And you notice I didn't gesso the card. It'll probably curl a little, but I think if I put it under some weight, it will be just fine. If I were going to do more painting on that, I probably would have put some clear gesso on top of it. So also, I don't want to forget about these inside pages either. So in between, you can see inside here. So let me flip this one so you can see how the card is in there. So let's go ahead and just add some watercolor in between these. Dry those up. So I like that so much. Let's go ahead and put it on the cover. You know what? Kind of really like how that turned out. So let's go ahead and do it here. My painting skills are Picasso-like. And because it's the cover, I put a little more glitter. Do the back, and then I'll do the spine as well. And a spine. Alright, put this away. So now we have the front and the back done, all the pages done. So let's go ahead. I thought for the cover, I would glue this down and put this 5 on here since we kind of got the number theme. It's simple, but I think that's all it needs. So the question is, do I want to go ahead and stitch this down? Because that would really hold it more than glue. And then I would have stitch marks back here. And I think I am, because I think I like that. So I still had some red wax linen thread, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. If I had something else on here, I'd probably use it as well. Let's see, let's go down from the top. Because then I can bring it out and then just tie knots in it. So if I just come up this side. And the thing that's great about wax linen thread, just scrunch it up and it's on. So let's do one, let's do this one here. So again, I'll come down from the top. And this is holding this on here pretty tight, much better than any glue would. So again, I'm just going to scrunch that up. And I think we'll do one more, probably up here, because I don't think, well, I'll do one up here, but then this is moving this way, so I probably will do one on the vertical pieces. Oops, we want to come down from the top. Crunch it up. And then since I did those on the horizontal so you can see this moves back and forth like this, if we do one this way on one of these pieces and hold it down. So let's do one here. And that's got on there pretty snug. Could always do one more, I suppose. So if we did that there, we could do it here. So let's just do one more here. And we'll call that good with the needle. All right, so that's good on the cover. So what I'll do, I could put small brads in these holes, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm just gonna glue that on top of there like that. But before I do that, I'm gonna do something with this. So what I thought I might do, I kind of like this ruler piece. Let me zoom back out a little bit. I kind of like this ruler piece here. So I know it's covering up the binding, but you know, you create and go, right? But I also thought it would be fun. So let me try to find. So this is the centerpiece, and this is the centerpiece. So I'm going to try and we'll see what this looks like. So I have these beads. They're actually old vintage buttons. I'm going to go ahead and let's see if we put this on here. I want them to dangle a little. So probably there. Well, this is being challenging for my fingers here. Okay, there we go. And let's do one more. Not. All right, so again, crunch that up. So that will be the bottom piece, so you can see how this hangs, right? So let's do the top one with another one. Because I love things that move on my projects. And you know, I kind of like this so much, I might do multiple beads. I was just going to originally do them on the one, but I could do that on several. I have probably 20 of these beads, or buttons. Keep calling them beads. So, sorry, Moose is barking again. Alright, so I have those on both. So the idea is this will sit, and that's a little too short, but this would sit here, and you know what, maybe I'll just have them hang off the bottom. So I think I am going to add a few more of those on there, and then I'm going to go ahead and just cut these off because I'm going to be covering that up. So I'll be back when I get that finished. Okay, I am back and I've got everything glued down. So I changed the, it's still drying, so I'm moving it. I changed the ruler. I wanted a different one on there, but you can see the little dangles. I added several different colors to that. And then you can see what that looks like glued down to the front. So again, here's some close-ups of the inside pages. You can really see that wonderful texture that embossing powder and the baby wipe made. That was actually ripped off of the bottom of this piece, and I just thought that would be fun for a little more color for that page right there. And that is it. I hope you enjoyed my short video today, and have a wonderful day. Thanks!